welcome into another podcast episode for Coatings Pro magazine. I'm Stephanie Chiswick and I'm editor-in-chief of Coatings Pro. Today we have with us Sarah Copsey, Project Manager, Prevention and Research Unit at the European Agency for Safety and Health at Work. EU OSHA's mission is to develop, gather, and provide reliable and relevant information, analysis, and tools to advance knowledge, raise awareness, and exchange occupational safety and health information and good practice, which will serve the needs of those involved in OSH. Thanks so much for joining us today, Sarah.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So why don't we start by giving the listeners a bit of your background?
Well, by academic training, I'm an ergonomist and a psychologist. And then following that, I worked for 10 years as the head of health and safety for the largest public sector trade union in the UK. And in fact, during that time, I was on a short while the tripartite advisory committee for the National Advisory Committee for the UK construction sector. And then I moved to working in the European Agency for Safety and Health at Work. While I've been there, I've worked on a variety of different types of projects, from the cleaning sector to the transport sector. And more recently, I was involved in a major project for the European Parliament on health and safety and the aging workforce. And right now, I'm working on a major activity and campaign on the prevention of musculoskeletal diseases in the workplace.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like you have a great background to fit with your current role. And also, it kind of leads into my next question, which is, what are the challenges going on right now in the construction industry? And I think you just touched on a few of those. And obviously, we've got COVID-19 affecting everything as well. So could you just touch on maybe a little bit of, what the workforce challenges are right now, how that's affecting the construction industry?
Well, in general, the workforce challenges are the same as they've always been, which is how to effectively control health and safety risks and reduce worker exposure to hazards, and to keep the workforce safe and healthy. In the particular situation, we've got two issues. In the particular situation of the aging workforce, we know that, it's estimated that between 2016 and 2060, the working population in the European Union would decline by over 10%. And with the reduced birth rate in the developed countries, there are going to be far fewer younger workers. So that means that all industries, including the construction industries, need to find effective ways to keep their older, skilled and experienced workers in good shape and to support them to be able to work longer. Now, you've mentioned COVID. COVID is having a huge effect on all sectors, all types of jobs in our whole lives, of course. With regard to older workers, you've got some older workers are going. Well, we know older people are more vulnerable to COVID, so it's a really important issue to find ways to make sure that they are safe. That they can socially distance and that they can follow all the safety rules. And in a sector, this is in general, but for this group in particular, in the construction sector, there are issues about being able to get access to hand washing facilities. How do you socially distance in changing areas or eating facilities? How do you ensure that masks don't become damaged while people are working and therefore ineffective? And then the specific issues like travelling with workers in minibuses to sites and that sort of thing, and how do you maintain social distancing there? In some regards, if the part of the construction sector where you're working outdoors, it may be less of a problem than working indoors. But nevertheless, there are still challenges in working alongside other people.
I didn't even think about the traveling to and from work. Sorry to interrupt.
And especially places like the construction sector, if you're getting gangs or teams together and you need to transport them in minibuses, if you've got people who are kind of working away workers, so they're sleeping in a hostel or something like that, again, there are real issues there about how do you segregate people? What happens if someone goes down with COVID and that sort of thing? Can you keep shifts of workers working together so you're not mixing people so much? And a whole range of issues. And then, of course, it affects some more general things for health and safety training. When you want to limit how many people are getting together, how does it work for having toolbox talks on site and that sort of thing, where you want to get a group of people together?
Mm-hmm.
On the admin side, a lot of us are now all teleworking, of course, and that brings some opportunities, because for some businesses they're seeing for the first time that teleworking is a possibility. It can work in practice. And teleworking, for example, often helps people who've developed a chronic condition to be able to manage their problem and continue working. If the ergonomic conditions at home are not great, or if people find themselves working longer hours and not taking breaks to get up and move around, this then becomes an issue, and that can be a particular issue for older workers. And also we have a general concern, I think, that all the attention on COVID may be diverting attention away from the continued need to put effort into assessing and managing risks in the workplace as well. So that's a general issue that can't take your eye off the ball of general health and safety prevention when just to deal with the COVID issues. So
that's a good point. When I think about too, the top, I want to say it's something like 4 or 5, at least citations over here, or is it not citations? It's the top 4 or 5 risks, I think it is, are pertaining around fall protection and dropped objects and those kinds of things. And that obviously is not getting discussed right now because all eyes are on COVID. So it's a really good point that it's kind of detracting from the issues that are still there that people still need to be dealing with.
Oh, exactly, those issues aren't going to go away, and they get if they get ignored, or programs or things that were going to be put in place to deal with them get postponed, that's only building up problems.
Right. I do wonder, to circle back to something you said about the aging workforce, if some of these opportunities that we're seeing right now with COVID, like the people starting to do admin work maybe from home, like you were saying, could that potentially offer an opportunity for some of those aging members of the workforce to continue working, whereas they might not have been able to do that in the past?
No, definitely. We see that where companies are accommodating older workers, or particularly people who have developed some sort of chronic condition, teleworking, a component of teleworking is often really, really helpful to them. It can cut down on, if you've got a chronic condition, it can cut down on your need to commute. It can make it easier for you to organise your work to get to medical appointments and that sort of thing. And I know from my own experience, because I have a back problem. Now I'm working from home, I'm actually feeling better because I can get up and move around when I want to. And although and even, for example, if I don't need the screen on, if I don't need my video on when I'm having a work meeting, I can actually get up and walk around and move. So that kind of flexibility can be really helpful.
Absolutely.
To enabling people to carry on working.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought, I do the same thing, but I hadn't thought of it from a standpoint of how it could help with the construction industry as well. It's interesting, and the aging workforce. Any other possible solutions that you're seeing for some of those challenges out there? Any concrete examples that you'd want to give?
In terms of the aging workforce, what's needed is first and fourmost, what's needed for the construction industry, because a lot of the work-related health problems you see in the construction industry, of course, develop over time. So musculoskeletal disorders or hearing loss, lung and respiratory problems from exposure to chemicals and dusts, or etc. To tackle those, you need good working conditions right from the first day of work, from the start of your working life, because they develop cumulatively due to repeated exposure to the hazards. So it's important to have good health and safety for all the workforce from day one. It's no good waiting till someone's 55 and worn out.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, for example, if you have younger workers doing all the heavy work, they're going to be worn out when they become older. So that's the first thing we say. You need to improve the health and safety. You need to manage health and safety for all the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, if you take steps to prevent risks and make work easier and improve the ergonomics of work for all your workers, that can make the difference between an older worker with reduced work capacity being able to stay in work or leave the work. So that kind of preventive top-end approach is benefiting everybody. And then combined with that, you need an approach where for those individuals who need it, to provide specific support and adjustments. Of course, the safer and easier you're making work in the first place, the less need there is for specific support and adjustments for individuals further down the line. But it's important to not treat older workers as a blanket group, because they're, in fact, as we get older, we become more and more diverse. And also, for example, a person of 55 can be fitter and stronger than a person of 25. So it is important to avoid stereotypical thinking about what people can or cannot do, or assume that all older workers are the same. Then, as part of this approach, so we've got good health and safety, specific adjustments. Then the third thing is to ensure early intervention for any problems that arise. For that, you need to create a good work environment where workers feel able to either raise health and safety problems or talk about a specific health problem that is affecting their ability to work. Because we know the earlier intervention is made, both in the workplace and for medical care, the more likely any intervention is to be effective, the less chronic a condition is going to have become, and therefore the more effective the intervention is likely to be. So that's the next thing that's really important important. And then to say, so I've been talking about lots of interventions, doing this, doing that in general, but very many solutions are actually quite simple and cheap to implement. So that's also needs to be borne in mind as well. So what I think I'm saying is being proactive on health and safety, and then also proactive around older workers, and not seeing everything as a problem, but looking at it as a looking for solutions in that kind of way.
Yeah, I love that sort of positive spin on it, and I think it's a really kind of a good sort of it harkens back to what you were saying about, the change of the numbers of the workforce. We can't afford to be losing people in the workforce, so we should be treating them like individuals and treating them in the way that the best way for them. And I think that would also, we've talked a lot about the aging workforce, but I would suspect that also includes all other, kinds of people too. I think women is another area of the workforce that could certainly be expanded upon to help with the changes in decreasing numbers in construction workers.
In fact, that's a very good point. And the whole general approach as well of if you're thinking first to make work safer and healthier and physical work easier for the entire workforce, that may open up opportunities for women to enter construction jobs if you're making the work in general easier for everybody. And although this example of making work easier and the whole workforce, it doesn't come from the construction sector, but I think it's a really nice example. It comes from a car factory, automobile manufacturer, and with their older workforce, they were having a lot of sickness absence, a lot of musculoskeletal problems, people going on early retirement. So they made changes to the plant and the production line, and one of the things they did is they flipped over the chassis of the body of the vehicle. So the workers were no longer bending down underneath the vehicle to work. They were working upright over it, as though it's a workbench. And so that reduced musculoskeletal disorders and sickness absences. But what they also found, and what they hadn't expected, was that suddenly they began to recruit more younger workers as well. Presumably word got round that this was no longer the horrible back-breaking work that their fathers had been doing, and which they were avoiding at all costs, and were willing to work in the factory again. So that was an unexpected consequence. But in general, probably what I'm saying is if you go beyond just the prevention, but think of in terms of diverse workforce, is to how can we make work in general more inclusive? How can we design work to be more universal? So that you are expanding the pool of workers that you can employ as the working age population is shrinking. So that's really important for the future, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully, people can start maybe making some of those. To me, that doesn't sound like a huge change that the car factory made, and look at the amazing benefit that came out of it. So hopefully people can start making some similar changes and have huge positive consequences. That would be great.
There are actually very many much smaller things that can be done to either enable somebody to carry on working or to make work easier for everybody. So just simple ergonomic measures like providing a trolley or power tools, And then look, can working hours be adjusted? Is there some opportunity for some part-time working or flexi hours, depending on the type of work, of course? And then is there opportunity for task rotation as well? So not every one person is not, if the physical work is rotated with less physical work. Or in an individual case, is it possible for a particular task that worker can no longer easily do be given to other workers to carry out? So those are all really simple measures which don't necessarily have cost implications that even small workplaces can think of implementing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe just a bit of a different mindset is kind of what's needed to start the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think so. So one of the in health and safety in general, one of the issues is often thought, oh, it's a cost, it's a negative thing, whereas we try to emphasize the business benefits of having a safe and healthy workforce, in investing in your workforce's health and well-being throughout their working lives, and that has an effect on sickness absence, on productivity, reduced recruitment costs, and also the organisation, the company can benefit from having a better reputation as a good employer as well. So there are many positive things in addition to opening out your possible pool of workers that you can recruit at the same time.
Yeah, I think those are some great tips, Sarah. Thank you. What resources does the EU OSHA have that we could share with our listeners?
Right. Well, in general on our website, we have a lot of fact sheets on individual topics. Some years ago now, but we did run a campaign on the construction sector, and we've also run a campaign on maintenance work as well. So we've got simple two-sided fact sheets on health and safety issues related to construction sector and maintenance, and those are translated into many of the European Union official languages. So that would include Spanish, for example, Spanish and Portuguese, for example. We also collect case studies. So for those two issues, for the campaigns on construction and maintenance, we collected some case studies as part of a Good Practice Award. For the ageing workforce, we've also collected some interesting case studies, including one from a very small roofing company, and I think they only had something like 12 employees, where they'd made changes, thinking about the aging of their workforce. They were doing things like introducing some aids to make lifting easier, etc. So some of even when the case studies are for large companies, we generally try and assess them to say, well, how could it be adapted for use for a smaller company as well? And now we're starting our musculoskeletal disorder campaign, which will run for 2 years. So that's going to focus in general on prevention in general, that is possible and what can be done. And then a component of it's going to focus on working with chronic musculoskeletal disorders. And to support that, we've already published some case studies of what kind of accommodations were made to enable individuals in different workplaces to carry on working. And another issue is looking at not prolonged standing work, prolonged sitting work, and how to get the workforce moving more, and including lots of tips for employers on what can be done to avoid static postures in general. So that's just a few of the things. It's a multilingual website as well, covering all the European Union languages. And as I say, many of the stuff aimed at workplaces, good practice information, is in various languages.
That's amazing. Could you just briefly give the website for the listeners in case they want to go check out all those great resources?
So it's www.osha.europa.eu. But if you search in Google for EU OSHA, EUOSHA, the website comes up immediately.
Awesome. Thank you. Before I let you go, I wanted to just briefly touch on, we talked a lot about what's going on and currently what's, been developing over the past few months, let alone past few years and over time. Is there anything that you can touch on as far as what the future might look like regarding these issues?
Well, in general, of course, work's not going to look like what it did pre-COVID, and probably health and safety in the way we do things and look at risks and assessment. That's all going to be changed post-COVID.
I guess that,
but in regarding the aging workforce, that's not a problem that's going away. That's an issue that's, as far as we know, is on the increase. But I think for the future, being positive again, what we know now, we know a lot more about the aging workforce, how to address it, so to focus on making workplaces better and safer and healthier for everyone, focus on people's workability and not their incapacity. And that we need to keep in sight the really important need, the increasing importance of making work sustainable across the work-life course. And we know, knowing that many problems can be simple and cost-effective to solve as well. So if they're applied to the whole workforce, making it work easier for all, we're going to have a much better chance of keeping our older workers working longer and also healthy when they reach retirement and healthy into retirement, which is really important for individuals.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that's a perfect place to stop. Again, she's Sarah Copsey, Project Manager, Prevention and Research Unit at the European Agency for Safety and Health at Work. I'm Stephanie Chiswick, Editor-in-Chief of Coatings Pro Magazine. Thanks again for listening in to a podcast episode for Coatings Pro Magazine. I think Sarah shared a lot of great tips about the aging workforce and how we can make some small and larger changes in our businesses moving forward. So thanks again and happy coding.